Hi, I'm Katie with Modern Textiles, and today I'm going to explain all things sew alongs and quilt alongs. So when I started quilting, I really wasn't around on social media. I just kind of did my own thing. I learned how to quilt when I was really young, before social media or even the internet was really stable. um, and then when I finally got into the sewing and quilting community, I was in my probably late 20s. So dipping my toes into the sewing community was just like eye-opening, total eye-opening experience. I used to quilt, and it was just not an isolating experience, but a pretty small group of friends of mine would quilt, and they even knew more about the community than I did. So I thought, you know what, there's other people that are probably like me, just getting into the sewing community, finding it, and realizing there's terms that you don't understand or don't know what that full concept means, which, for me, sew alongs and quilt alongs, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I didn't know the full concept of it. So why not dive into it? With sew alongs or quilt alongs, so sew alongs typically are going to be anything that's outside of the quilt world. That's not typically a quilt that you're sewing, but a quilt along is going to be just that. You're sewing a quilt and you're making progress on whatever size quilt you choose. Typically, it's going to be hosted by the designer. So whoever designed the quilt pattern, they're going to host the quilt along. So they will divvy up and essentially work out a schedule that seems realistic for everyone to go ahead and join and make this quilt. So for me, if you look at my schedule, I had a quilt along for the Not So XOXO quilt, and I broke it up into 7 weeks. And that included 1 week for just catch up because life, right? We can't always get into our sewing rooms as much as we want to. So essentially, week 1 is going to be planning. Typically planning, getting your fabric, going to the store or ordering it, waiting for it to come, as well as cutting and getting prepped for the quilt. So if we go off of my quilt along for the Not So XOXO quilt, weeks 2 through 4 are just going to be block construction. So this was a really simple quilt. There's no trimming of blocks. There's no, half square triangles. It's all straight piecing. So very simple quilt. So I put 3 weeks for just block construction. And then I added that last weekend for just catch up in case you didn't get what you're doing, or maybe you decided, hey, instead of a throw size, I'm going to go ahead and make a bed size quilt. It might take a lot more time than what you have available to you on those other weeks. And then for me, for week 6, I went ahead and did assemble your quilt top. So we had all the blocks completed in the previous weeks. Now it's time to pull that together and make the actual quilt top. In week 7, then from there, either you can go ahead and send it off to a longarm quilter, or if you wanted to quilt it on your domestic machine, week 7 is just for quilting and for binding and completing your quilt completely. I love having that week to just really make sure you get it done, because otherwise, for me, it's pretty easy for me to piece a quilt top and then just let it hang out there. Even with having a longarm quilting machine, my quilts kind of always get the back burner until there happens to be a gap in my schedule for me to throw one on, and then I can finally complete it. So the other thing is with quilt-alongs, sometimes they have prizes. The designer may go ahead and reach out to maybe quilt shops, other pattern designers, or maybe someone else adjacent to quilting about donating prizes for the quilt-along, and they might give those out on a weekly basis if you're sharing along with their hashtags in social media, as well as maybe to their email address. It's really up to the discretion of the designer. For me, my favorite part of sew alongs and participating in sew alongs is just the motivation and kind of that group effort of seeing what other people are doing and that they're getting the work done and making time in their schedule to get into their sewing room. I love being able to be a part of the community, seeing what other people are working on, and just chiming in and going, wow, that's a great color pull, that's a great fabric pull, and just seeing how everyone else's brains work when it comes to color theory and what they think looks great in a quilt. There is another quilt along, type of quilt along, or sew along I like to say. One of my friends over at Wildwood Creative, Tani, she actually does, and part of my French, just fucking finish it challenges every year, which is dig into your works in progress. It's tough, especially in this economy, to be spending lots of money on fabric as much as we all want to, and it's really easy to go ahead and shop online. But just go ahead, dig into what you already have started in your works in progress bin and get those done. just get them done is the whole primary purpose of that. And it doesn't matter if it's a quilt, maybe it's a bag, maybe it's a tote, maybe it's a garment, whatever it is, just get them done so that way you can use them and get them out into the world or even gift them away. I would love to hear what sew-alongs you're excited for in the upcoming months, or maybe that you're participating in. Drop it in the comments below. And in the next video, I'm going to go over my top 5 most popular free tutorials I offer.